Welcome back to your favorite technical math class. So up to this point, we've done single variable equations like 6x plus 3 equals 0. Now we're going to do two variables, x and a y, or usually an x and a y we like to use, right? So this is the general form of a linear equation, ax plus by plus c equals 0. A, b, c are just real numbers, and a and b can't be 0, okay? Now, some textbooks will actually put the c on the other side instead of 0, so they'll put it in that form for your general form for a linear equation, ax plus by equals c. Notice the power of x is 1 and the power of y is 1, okay? So what we're going to do first is we're going to graph this. We're going to do this two methods, graphing, and the first is called your point plotting method. So we're just going to pick x values to plug in, like -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. We're going to pick some inputs and find the outputs, and then we're just going to plot those points and draw the line. Now, we really only need 2 points to draw a line, but we're just going to do a few of them and practice so we can kind of see the behavior of this. So when x is -2, what would y be if x is -2? Well, I plug it in, and I get 5, so y is 5. So my first point on the graph is -2, 5. There's my first point on my line, right? Now I'm going to plug in -1 for x. So I got +3 minus 1. So I got 2. When x is -1, y is 2. So I go left 1, up 2. There's my next point. Now we're going to let x be 0. So I got -3 times 0 minus 1. Well, -3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 1 is -1. So I got 0, -1. Now I plug 1 in. -3 times 1 is -3. -3 minus 1 is a -4. So I got 1, -4. So right 1 down 4. And finally 2. So I got -6 minus 1, which is -7. So clear down here. And I can draw my line. Not a very good line, but you get the idea. All right. Now notice this one has -2x plus y equals -3. So it's not solved for y. It's not as nice. But we're still going to go ahead. Let's still plug in the -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2 for x one by one, and we'll still solve it. Looks like y ends up being -7 here. So I got -2, -7. Now I'm going to throw in -1 for x. Subtract 2 on both sides, and we get y is -5. So -1, -5. Plug 0 in for x. So 0 plus y is -3, so y is just that -3. And by the way, the other way you could do this is you could solve for x first. If you want to rewrite this equation before you plug x in, you can also do that. So you got 2x minus 3. And then you could plug your points in. So let's do it for x being 1. So I get 2 times 1 minus 3. And notice I don't have to solve for y now. So y is -1. So I got 0, -3. 1, -1. Now I plug the 2 in for x. So I got 2 times 2 is 4 minus 3, which is 1. 2, 1. And I draw that line. And notice that one's going up and to the right. We'll talk about slope later in the course. That means it's increasing. As I increase in x values, my y values are also increasing. Whereas over here, this one was a decreasing. Its slope is actually negative. As I increase in x values, my y values decrease as I go along. So it's going down and to the right. Okay. Now let's plot a different way now. Let's plot by finding what's called my intercepts. And let me give you a curve. This is not linear, but let me give you one that crosses the x-axis a few times here. Now notice this curve crosses the axis 4 times, right? And hopefully, what do you notice about each of those points? They're on the x-axis, and specifically their y value is what? 0. Yeah. So when you're finding the x-intercept where it crosses the x-axis, you're going to let your y value be 0, because where it crosses, the y value would be 0. Whereas when you're finding the y-intercept, so this point right there, that's where it crosses the y-axis. See how that point is 0, -1? See how the x value is 0? When you find a y-intercept, you're going to let the x be 0. Okay? So again, to find the x-intercept, let y be 0. When you find a y-intercept, let x be 0. Now, this is not going to be a curve. This is just going to be a line. But that's your rule of thumb. So let's go ahead and find, because you only need 2 points to draw a line. So this is called graphing by finding the intercept. So the intercept method. So let's go ahead and find the x-intercept first by letting y be 0 in this equation. 3x plus y plus 6 equals 0. My y is 0. 3x plus 6 equals 0. I subtract 6. 3x equals -6. Divide by 3. Looks like my x is -2. So now I have my first point, -2, 0. That's where it crosses the x-axis. That's my x-intercept. Now I'm going to find my y-intercept by letting x be 0 this time. So let's go ahead and find our y-intercept by letting x be 0. So I have 3x plus y plus 6 equals 0. That's my original linear equation. I'm letting x be 0. 3 times 0 is 0. So I got y plus 6 equals 0, and I subtract 6 on both sides. So y ends up being -6. So I got 0, -6. Again, I only need, this is a linear equation, I really only need 2 points to draw a line. So I've just graphed it by the intercept method. I found my x-intercept and I found my y-intercept. All right, here's one more we'll do with the intercept method. Whoops. So try that again here. To find my x-intercept, let y be 0. To find my y-intercept, I let x be 0. Let's go ahead and find our x-intercept first by letting y be 0. So I get -3x plus 0 equals 15. So that's gone. Now I divide by -3. So it looks like my x ends up being -5. So there's my first point, -5, 0. There's where it crosses the x-axis. Now let's find our y-intercept by letting x be 0. So there's my x being 0. So I get 0 plus 5y equals 15. 5y equals 15. I divide by 5. So I got 0, 3. When x is 0, my y ends up being 3. 0, 3. There's my 2 points. Draw my line right through there. Well, the last concept in this section, L12 lesson here, is the horizontal and vertical line. So you have a horizontal line when you have y equaling a constant. b is just a real number. Whereas you have a vertical line if x equals a constant. Again, a being a real number. So let's go ahead and graph this. If you're not sure what this looks like, I would just point plot this. Y equals -3. Notice there is no x value. Y is always -3. Y is always -3. That means it doesn't matter what I pick for my x. I can pick my x's to be anything. Let's just do x's -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, like when we were point plotting. Okay? Y is always -3. Now I got a bunch of ordered pairs, and let's see what this thing looks like. I got -2, -3. There's the first one. Second one's -1, -3. Third one is 0, -3. Then I got 1, -3. Then I got 2, -3. Soon enough, you should see, oh yeah, that's a horizontal line, right? Because the y value is always -3. See the horizontal line here? We got a horizontal line. So if y equals a number, it's a horizontal line at that y value. Okay? Let's do a vertical line now. X equaling 4. So similarly, x is always 4. I do a bunch of 4s, right? X is always 4. Doesn't matter what I pick my y's to be. I could pick them to be whatever, but I'm going to have a bunch of values. 1, 2, 3, 4, -3, 4, -2, 4, -1, 4, 0, 4, 1, 4, 2, and so on. And hopefully you see, oh yeah, that thing is vertical. X equaling 4. This is a vertical line when I graph that thing on the Cartesian coordinate system or the rectangular coordinate system. And that's L12 in a nutshell. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully I'll get you started. See you next time.